friends. It is true, it's been all those years since we last saw each other. And Tom, you were 1 or 2 years younger than I am, but his brother Vernon and I went to high school together, played football together, and so we have a long history between the three of us. Also, the sister of Art Pruitt, a great football player at Big Creek, and also I think Virginia Tech, was probably the best running back in the country at the time he was in high school. Today I want to talk to you about a couple of broad things that are sort of history. They're not exactly current events, but they're not ancient history either. But I want to start by talking about the connection between Colewood and Coretta to this area of Virginia. Mr. Carter, who was already in the railroad business, started those two communities with coal mines in those places. I'm not sure exactly the depth of the mine in Coretta, but I know the one in Colewood was 600 feet. He believed that in order to get the maximum production out of a man, because it was being working in the coal mine, that you had to keep the family safe, secure, happy, with some of the conveniences of the day. So therefore, unlike some coal mine communities, we had sidewalks, we had a newspaper, we had a bakery, we certainly had schools and churches and ball fields for the young people, and that way the families felt a part of everything going on, and it was a good time, I think. Along about 1920, my family moved to Colewood, and that was the start of a large family that some are still in West Virginia. I'm sort of spread out between the state of West Virginia and South Carolina, where I still have some things going on. But the connection was Mr. Carter brought in families from Virginia, Carroll County, Wythe County, and actually all of the southwestern part of the state, because he knew that these people were not only hard workers, but they were honest, loyal people that when they were treated correctly and fairly, they produced a lot of coal. And Colewood did produce a lot of coal over a 75, 80, maybe 100-year period of time. Now, a little bit about the connection to this area too is that Madison's family, through the mother's side of the family, produced a couple of the early executives with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, the Stoltzes. And my distant connection to this area, I think, is Jim Stewart, because I am distantly related to General Stewart. However, you didn't come to learn your own history. You know your own history very well, and it's a proud history. But I want to talk about Colewood and Big Creek and its life that brought about 6 young guys who were later to become known as the Rocket Boys. What a great challenging name that is. Colewood had a school at Settlement Hill. It was known by a variety of names: Colewood Junior High, Colewood School, and it seemed to be the heart of the town. It wasn't the union, which was strong. It wasn't the coal mine, which was strong. It wasn't the variety of churches we had there. It was the school and education that brought everybody together. PTA meetings that were held once a month were filled with parents and grandparents that wanted to make sure that the people that came after them would have an opportunity for something other than possibly stand and working in a deep coal mine. I can remember the first few teachers we had there, Miss Williams, Miss Brown, Miss Mahoney, Miss Cox, the other Miss Cox, and of course our school president. Mr. Likens was one who was totally immersed in the community. He was the head of the Boy Scouts. He was at every football practice, every basketball practice. He encouraged us to play baseball. I didn't even know what softball was until I got older. I think it was just something we played baseball. And one thing that he did was that every summer he took the children of Coalwood over to the town of Welch to swim in their pool and learn how to swim. And we later got a swimming pool, but at that time we didn't have one. He would take us over this rickety, worn out old school bus that would not be allowed on the highways now. Who carry us over there? Yeah, 2 days a week for the girls, 2 days a week for the boys. I don't know why they made that distinction, because in those days, the only way you could tell who was a girl or boy was which bathroom they went to. We all wore one piece of paper suits. But anyway, Mr. Likens taught each and every child in Coalwood for a number of years how to swim. Didn't sound like much, but it was much. Also, he was the person who taught all of us, that I can remember anyway, advanced math. He began with algebra, and then we went to calculus, trigonometry, and this is an opportunity we might not have had in any other little school. We all played sports in Coalwood. It seemed like all the fellows played sports. I remember very well my first day in football practice in Coalwood. We had a young man who didn't stay with us long because he was taken into the Army, but he had us all on the floor of the gymnasium, and he was telling us what we could expect of him and what he expected of us. And just before we left, he said, "Don't forget to get yourself an athletic supporter." Well, Billy Rose and I were just dumb boxes, you know. So I don't know what he said to his family, but I went home. My brother was 10 years old with me, and told on him to be my athletic supporter, and he hit me. I don't know what it was about. Something, I'm sure. Anyway, in due time, we went to Big Creek. About an 8-mile ride in a school bus. They couldn't quite make it around the hill very well, but it got down to about 5 miles an hour on some of those curves. And our driver was named Jack Martin. And I don't know if you remember Jack or not. Jack had a peculiar way about him. He wore one black glove. He was a Michael Jackson there at his age. And Judy Carroll asked Mrs. Martin long after Jack had died why he wore one glove. And she said, "Beats the devil out of me. He always wore one." So I don't know if he wore it 24 hours a day or not. Maybe they had. But anyway, we got over to Big Creek, and what do we all want to do? We want to play football for the best football team in West Virginia, Big Creek Owls. And I do remember my first day there as well. It was sweltering hot. It was August the 15th, 1957. And that was before I ever moved to South Carolina, so I didn't know what hot was, but I thought that was hot. And at some point during the day, Mr. Turner came out to talk to us. Now, if any of you ever saw the movie October Sky, Mr. Turner was sort of a stern man, a man of rules and regulations. He was worse than that. He was scary. I was scared to death of him. And he came out on the field and he introduced himself to the team, particularly the newbies like we were. And Bob Brewer, probably remember Bob, big lineman. He walked up to Bob, and Bob stuck his hand out in front of him, and he had his big smile on his face. He said, "My name is Bob Brewer, and I'm from Squire." And he said, "Bob, if you ever need anything, you come and see me." My heart started pounding. This is great news. Then he walked up to Billy Rose, and Billy stuck his hand out, and he said, "My name is Billy Rose, and I'm running back to Coldwood." He said, "Billy, my door is always open. If ever there's anything that bothers you, please come see me." Now, Mr. Turner was not tall like that character in the movie. He was a short man, probably about 5'4" in heels. I'm not saying wore heels, but if he had, he would be 5'4". And when he walked up to me, of course I stuck my hand out. I had a big grin on my face. All 22 teeth in my head were shining white. And I said, "My name is Roy Lee Cooke, and I'm running back from Coldwood." And he said, "Are you any kin to Bill Cooke?" And I said, "Yes, sir. Billy is my brother." He said, "You'll never graduate." And he meant it. And I spent 3 years trying to prove him right. And it wasn't grades. Grades are easy to get. It's read a little bit, pay a little bit of attention, get a good grade. But I think that I must have broken every rule and regulation that Big Creek ever had. I even went to him and apologized about 15 years or so ago. I said, "Mr. Turner, I'm sorry I caused you so much problem." He said, "Heck, I can't remember it anyway." So that was what was true. Anyway, Frida Riley gets a lot of credit, as well she should, about the ultimate success in the rocketry of the 6 of us. But she was not the only teacher. Coach Mance, who taught biology, we probably had 8 or 10 teachers that I can remember that were excellent, and all of them were directing us to a better future. If you get an education and you work hard, you will succeed in life. And I believe it with all of my might. And although I didn't have a clue in the world how to get to college, but I believed it. And but it was Miss Riley that was probably impressed with Quentin Wilson more than any of us, because he was the smartest. And she produced this book that she'd gotten somewhere about rocketry that gave us the edge on how to really build them, along with the help of people in the machine shop and so forth like that. And she was good to us, but she was a strong disciplinarian. She let us know very quickly that we didn't run her chemistry class, and that was good. Actually, Miss Riley saved my life. And I'm sure Tom or Ron didn't want to know this, but I had a love-hate relationship with the school principal. And we'd gotten some notoriety over our rocket making by that time. It was about 2 or 3 days before graduation. And Mr. Turner came into the chemistry room. And looking back on it, I know he was actually joking, because that's the kind of humor I have now. But at the time, I thought he was making fun of our rocket group. So when he left the room, and I know maybe y'all have done this before yourself, you say something under your breath, you think no one else can hear, but everyone on the planet has heard it. Well, that's what happened to me. As he walked past me, I called him a very bad name, which I won't repeat, because some of you are younger than 75 like me. And he heard it. And that man jerked me out of my seat, threw me out in the hallway, and was threatening me with my life. Told me that I would not graduate. And Frida Riley walked outside, and she said to me, "I want you to shut up and go inside and sit down." And I did. So for the next 15 minutes, my life flashed right below me. Because I knew that if I didn't get a high school diploma, there was no way I could get into college. Without a college education, I was going to be doing some, in my mind, demeaning job forever. We didn't even have McDonald's those days. So what would I have done? I don't know what I would have done. And when she walked back in, closed the door, she stopped right in front of me and she said, "You are not to open your mouth till you get your diploma." And I started thanking her, yes. And she stopped me and shut up. Just keep your mouth closed. And I did. You know, it took me a while to go to college, though. Some of my buddies immediately went into the military. I got on the bus and went to Washington, D.C. I don't know how many of my class members, it seemed like there's an awful lot of people in D.C. that were recent graduates of Victory. I was out of high school 2 years before I got enough nerve to apply to school in Concord College. We called it UCLA, University of Concord, located in Athens. But we didn't, and I'm not even sure we meant it as a joke. I think we were serious about it. We thought we were going to UCLA. Big Creek gave me that foundation, and at Concord, I had an easy time with it. Grades were easy to get. But I had a mouth on me, and therefore I was on social probation for the entire year. I did a lot of things that were probably against the rules. I don't know. It seemed like they had a rule against it if I didn't. The last thing I did, though, and I'd already been accepted at 3 or 4 universities at the time. I was coming back to school from Princeton. Princeton was an evil town because they had beer joints. Athens, of course, don't have that. But I came back riding one of the guys had actually had a car, and as we showed up, there was all these people running around the girls' dorm. And of course, I had to stop the car, and I got, what is going on? And this terminology is probably ancient now, but they were having a panty raid. I didn't see much raiding going on because it seemed like the garments were being thrown out the window. And as I walked up, I cased the joint and saw a door open. And I walked inside the door, walked up to the second or third floor, whatever it was, put my arms around these 2 young ladies who were looking out the window, and the dean of women, whose name was Damaris Wilson, which you know how we pronounce that, Damaris. They said she fainted. I don't know. But I do know this, that the next morning I was standing in front of a court of my peers that thought they were going to punish me even more. In fact, they told me as long as I stayed in Concord, that I would I'd be on at least social probation. And of course, I bragged about it and told them I'd been accepted several places, and they would never see me again. And I actually wanted to go back one time to make a speech, by the way. That was my days at Concord. I did get transferred over to the University of Maryland, and lived a good long time in D.C. In the banking world. I think, Ron, you were in the banking world, weren't you? I should have brought that up. The thing that I feel such a connection with is when the movie finally came out, and it was a long, drawn-out process that I actually didn't think would ever happen. But after he came out, I got an opportunity to travel around the country, talking about growing up in southern West Virginia. And I got to meet so many people from this area and or McDowell County, Mercer County, and southern West Virginia. I was at Caltech about 15 years ago speaking, and in the crowd were 6 people that had left West Virginia, had graduated from Caltech, and had big businesses going. I just asked them why they didn't come back. But having said that, I thought to myself, I can come back. I left after I left banking in DC. I went to work for Cooke in Winston-Salem, and then I'm down in South Carolina. But so it brought me back to my home state. Hopefully to do some good. I wanted to do some good anyway. And that's about, in a nutshell, the gist of our connection with the rest of the world. I understand that the book, Rocket Boys, has now been produced in Vietnamese and Mandarin Chinese and various Serbian languages, certainly Russian and German. And I guess that I am significantly proud to be a part of the Appalachian world. Now, depending upon the age of my audience, I like to leave them with a little thought of the day, maybe. That is that it doesn't matter if your grandfather was straight off the boat and went to work on a coal mine. Doesn't matter if your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents were all sharecroppers and never owned a square inch of land in their life. Doesn't matter if you're from the Rust Belt. I believe that if you get that education, whatever that might mean, whether it was vocational ed or a PhD and everything in between, if you do those things and put your mind to it, you can still get a piece of the American pie. I talk to young people who think it's absolutely impossible because they graduated from college back in May and now working at a fast food joint. Get used to it. There'll be a lot of disappointments in life, as I know, and perhaps many of you know, that takes a lot of doing to overcome. Whether that sinks in to someone sitting in a college auditorium, I think we, in groups like ours, we understand that more than anybody. Just keep your nose to the grindstone, try to get arrested, whatever it might be, and you can get ahead more. I also have a favorite saying that my wife Deborah knows very well. It's sort of a paraphrasing of a country western song about 15, 18 years ago. It said, never fear the mountains in the distance, never fear or never take the path of least resistance. And if you get the choice to sit it out or dance, please dance. And that's what I've been all my life. I got a chance to dance, I will dance. I want to thank you for listening to me, but also because we have a certain kinship, I think if you have questions you'd like to ask me, I will certainly try my best to answer them. One thing I'll tell you right now, I don't remember the formula for rocket fuel. I'm going to take it for a fact that we mixed alcohol and zinc. I have no clue. I don't remember. But we wouldn't raise your hand.